Welcome back and prepare to be bedazzled, because today I'm going to be shedding light on the number one reason pertaining to why the land of Draconian slavery and Draconian oppression is a terrible place to live. So, what is this attributable to? Without further ado, without further delay, without further procrastination, allow me to demystify the answer to that inquiry right here, right now. Lamentably, much of my dismay, much of my consternation, much of my chagrin, much of my grief, much of my agony, much of my agitation, much of my irritation, early life slavery is perpetrated against people. The practice of slavery in any form is inhumane, immoral, reprehensible, and unvindicated. Even though all forms of slavery should be abolished, modern slavery is inapt to ever be abolished. The mandate to attend the 13-year K-12 compulsory concentration camp that is imposed against people against their own volition is ineffably inhumane, is the utmost pernicious form of modern slavery, and should be abolished. People should have purview over how their precious time is earmarked, and the right to liberty should never be trampled on. In a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp, a person's inalienable right to liberty is severely encroached on in all facets. In this control market economy, people are sentenced to a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory indoctrination camp against their own volition, which some people refer to as a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory prison, while other people refer to it as a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp, due to it being an insalubrious environment that individuals are relegated to from a young age against their own accord. Being sentenced to a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp against their own accord in this controlled market economy not only dispossesses a person of at least 37,440 hours of his finite, precious, invaluable, indispensable, sacrosanct time, but also induces stunted growth, chronic burnout, chronic sleep deprivation, chronic fatigue, chronic stress, depression, anxiety, misery, agony, distress, telomere shortening, accelerated cellular aging, and poor health. Moreover, being sentenced to a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp against his own accord in this control market economy not only dispossesses a person of at least 37,440 hours of his precious and valuable, finite, indispensable, sacrosanct time, but also sets up a person to be poised for a life fraught with hardships, insurmountable debt, chronic poverty, penury, compromised health, chronic burnout, chronic fatigue, chronic stress, a severely reduced quality of life, an increased mortality rate, and ineffable despair. In other words, succinctly stated, being sentenced to a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp against their own accord in this control market economy is a primary reason appertaining to why most people have been set up for career failure as children. Lamentably, a person will not receive any universal basic guaranteed income, pension, benefits, grant, stipend, allowance, remuneration, investment securities, brands, knowledge, nor anything of value for being dispossessed of 37,440 hours of his precious, indispensable, finite, invaluable, sacrosanct time. During the course of a brutal 13-year sentence at a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp in this control market economy, in which he partook in boondoggle activities against his own accord by completing classroom assignments, by completing homework assignments, and by being transported to and from the 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp every weekday for at least 2,340 days over at least 4,680 needless trips. Being sentenced to a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp renders a person poised for career failure, especially since it dispossesses a person out of his precious, invaluable, finite, sacrosanct time needed to establish and build up multiple recurring revenue streams amid his early life years. Being dispossessed of 37,440 hours of their precious and valuable, finite, indispensable, sacrosanct time during a brutal 13-year sentence at a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp not only causes people to forgo the opportunity to have sufficient time to obtain quality deep sleep, eat salubrious foods, partake in moderate intensity exercises, and work towards reaching worthwhile higher aspirations and worthwhile overarching goals in their early life years, but also causes them to forgo the opportunity to be able to produce income generating assets amid their early life years that recurring revenue streams are comprised of. So, to recapitulate, being sentenced to a 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory concentration camp under duress against one's own accord is a 13-year career setback. It causes someone to forgo being pursuant of worthwhile higher aspirations, worthwhile overarching goals, worthwhile career aspirations, and health optimization measures for 13 years. And for completing tens of thousands of hours of classroom assignments and homework assignments against one's own volition for the K-12 insalubrious 13-year compulsory concentration camp. They do not receive any emolument for doing so. They receive absolutely nothing for doing so. It is unpaid labor on the ends of people who are sentenced to the K-12 insalubrious 13-year compulsory concentration camp under duress against their own volition. When you perform labor, you should be remunerated for doing so, especially if you are going to be forced to perform it under duress against your own volition. There shouldn't be any slavery ever in any circumstance. There's no vindication. There's no cause behind the practice of slavery. As I stated earlier, all forms of slavery should be abolished. Slavery is a flagrantly deplorable injustice and offense. People should have autonomy to choose how their time is earmarked. However, if you're in a situation where you're going to be required to perform labor under duress against your own volition, then you should be compensated for doing so. But when you attend this K-12 compulsory 13-year insalubrious concentration camp and complete an exorbitant amount of classroom assignments and homework assignments for the K-12 insalubrious 13-year concentration camp, you are uncompensated for doing so. So you're performing free labor under duress against your own volition if you're sentenced to the K-12 insalubrious 13-year concentration camp. And if you're recalcitrant about following their directives, then they could just set you back and that could prolong your sentence at the 13-year insalubrious compulsory concentration camp. So if 13 years of foregone time to be pursuant of learning activities, 13 years of foregone time to be pursuant of worthwhile entrepreneurial pursuits, you should strive to attain financial stability and financial security by establishing and building up sizable recurring revenue streams on autopilot, which can be a possibility if you're strategically working hard by being pursuant of worthwhile entrepreneurial pursuits. So work in worthwhile entrepreneur capacities. And it would be far less cumbersome to attain financial stability and financial security if you had an additional 37,440 hours to be pursuant of worthwhile entrepreneurial pursuits, so that way you could allocate more time towards establishing and building up sizable recurring revenue streams on autopilot as an entrepreneur. Most real private sector employers are not going to make dispensation to pay their real private sector employees anywhere close to a subsistence wage. So the only way to generate extreme wealth is to be profoundly financially successful as an entrepreneur. So once again, all forms of slavery should be abolished. Slavery is a flagrantly deplorable injustice that should never exist under any circumstance. I extrapolate that modern slavery is apt to be abolished in the 21st century, the 22nd century, and the 23rd century. It is unfortunate that it is apt to persist, but it is what it is. Once again, all forms of slavery should be abolished. Slavery in any form is unvindicated, unwarranted, and unjustified. It is flagrantly deplorable and offensive. And it is eminently repugnant. Furthermore, it's a severe encroachment on moral law. There's no reason why slavery should ever exist. So, I hope that you deem this video to be riveting, captivating, mesmerizing, intriguing, informative, and engrossing. I hope that you're entrenched in the underlying epicness. Thanks for watching. Have a blissful day.